Melbourne's housing markets are sliding into the red as the Queensland market continues to rise on the back of strong interstate demand. Joining us now to pick through all this is the Executive Chairman of Yellow Brick Road Home Loans, Mark Bouris. Mark, good morning to you. So just why are people going up to Queensland? I mean, I know why they go up to Queensland, but how do you work out why our prices in New South Wales and Victoria are going down, Queensland going up?
Pretty simple. It's a matter of two things. It's population increase. So there has been net migration out of places like Victoria to a lesser extent New South Wales into Queensland. And the second thing is they all go where the jobs are. We have record unemployment and Queensland is doing very well on the unemployment stakes. So they go into Brisbane. And of course, as a result of that, the demand outstrips supply of housing and therefore prices go up in Brisbane. And in those places where the migration comes from, the prices go down.
So it's not just the weather.
It's not just the weather. Well, it could be the weather, but I think this will slow up in due course because this is a bit of a reaction to a lot of the lockdowns that happened in Victoria late last year and during the 2021 period. It will slow down to some extent, but Brisbane has held up very well in terms of pricing and property pricing. And also the Queensland government has spent a lot of money on infrastructure in Queensland. So that pricing is starting to spread out beyond the main parts of Brisbane.
Okay, so what sort of rises have falls in New South Wales and Victoria?
So in particular in New South Wales, and let's talk about Sydney in particular, because regional New South Wales has done slightly better than Sydney in itself. But Sydney has fallen 1.3% from its peak in February this year. So that's quite a significant fall when you consider, relatively speaking, prices were going up every month and every quarter and every year around about 18% per annum. So to come back at 1.3% from the February highs is quite a significant amount. And also what's really important, Peter, here is that the auction clearance rates too have fallen significantly as well. And that's always a good indicator as to where prices are going. So auction clearance rates in Sydney and in Melbourne are dropping right off. They're down to about 60%, which if you compare to this time last year, that was about 80%. So that's a significant drop.
We read into that price falls. What more information can you provide on those clearance rates, Mark?
Well, if you extrapolate from those clearance rates, then you go and look at what all the banks are commentating on. If you in particular look at what Westpac's saying, Westpac's saying that if interest rates, that is the official rate, goes up to 2.25%, in other words, from 0.35 where it is now to 2.25% in the next 12 months, which they are predicting between here and May 23, then they are saying that house prices across the nation will go down by around 10%. So, and if Sydney is hurting worse and Melbourne is hurting worse than all the other places like Adelaide and Brisbane, you would expect Sydney and Melbourne to go down by greater amounts than 10% in terms of pricing. So that is subject to interest rates going up, of course, but that is what Westpac's predicting over the next period between May 22 and May 23.
Okay, so a little bit more time there, Mark.
The Reserve Bank is going to be watching all this sort of stuff. The Reserve Bank doesn't want to put us into recession. I mean, other parts of the world, they're talking about recessions, like the US and the UK and Europe. They don't want to put us into a recession. The Reserve Bank is going to be very conscious of what their interest rate changes do to the property price market and also very conscious of the cost of living generally. And I heard you talking earlier about the cost of living, you know, with petrol prices and everything else. So, you know, my gut feeling is we're not going to get to the 2.25 that the Westpac and everyone else is predicting. I think we're going to go for a lesser amount. Therefore, I don't expect house prices to fall by the extent that is being predicted currently based on data.
See you as always. We'll talk to you again soon.